Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. It's currently 11:01. We'll start roughly 11:05. Okay, folks, we're just showing some last-minute registration, so I'm just allowing a last minute or two for these folks to come online and get settled, and we'll be starting just in 1 minute. Okay, let's get started. So again, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, welcome. Thank you for attending our webinar this morning, GovCloud 2.0. This is actually the first of what will be an ongoing series, so we do hope that you enjoy this first one and stay in tune for the following series, which will be on a monthly basis, and we'll be diving into a number of different topics that explain GovCloud 2.0 from various perspectives. So my role this morning, my name is Neil McEvoy, I'm one of the presenters you can see there, is just to provide the brief introduction and provide a scene-setting overview of what we're going to be talking about today, what is GovCloud 2.0, and what you can expect from the other speakers this morning. So quick introductions. The first point is who is the CBPN? It's the Cloud Best Practices Network. It's an industry forum organization I've recently set up to bring together experts from across the world in the field of cloud computing and help share their knowledge through events such as this, where we focus on topics such as government, industry sectors such as government, and how they can adopt the technologies. Our speakers today, who will be illuminating you in various areas of what this means, includes John Borras, who is the chair of the OASIS Transformational Government Framework. We have Eric Lews of AppDirect and Efrem Habteselassie of ACES Consulting. So moving on, so what we will actually be talking about today, what is Government Cloud 2.0? As the name suggests, there's essentially two main parts to this. There is government cloud computing, and there's Cloud 2.0. So government cloud computing, as the terms there suggest, is made up of the best practices and standards set from a baseline from the organization called NIST, which is the standards organization from the US government, who have defined many of the terms you've seen commonly used throughout the media with regards to cloud computing. There's IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. These are terms referring to infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. And these models and terms describe the different permutations of cloud computing and how they can be applied for government and for others as well. Now, in particular, what we'll also be focusing on is those standards provide the framework for adoption of cloud computing, and it's often described that the principal business benefit is cost savings, but really actually, the headline theme that we're going to be covering through this series is one more of innovation. It's really a technology that is an accelerator and enabler of more innovation, both by the public sector and the public sector enabling on behalf of others, in particular small businesses and other organizations. So as an example of how it's being used in another area quickly is in the UK, their GCloud program features what they call an app store. So that makes available applications in an on-demand downloadable form through a catalog. And what's important to note about that is it makes it more easily accessible for small businesses who want to supply services to the government to become part of that catalog. So it's an enabler and a facilitator of more innovation, small businesses, making government procurement more accessible to small businesses and encouraging more innovation. So that's really an important point to make in terms of it's not just the technology, it's not just about the technical standards. There's some really important business benefits that should be articulated as part of your strategy. And that leads us very nicely on to the second part, what we call Cloud 2.0. That refers to the intersection of these cloud computing technologies with the hugely popular social media world, using web and enterprise 2.0 software and technologies for enabling more collaboration within the social media world. And in particular, how that's important within the public sector is it ties in very directly to the goals and methods of e-government. So making government services online and more accessible, not only just in a transactional form online, but in a more collaborative manner and in a way that uses community and collaboration to better improve those services. So we're going to be talking about that too in particular, and Efrem will be describing how their search tool can play an integral part of improving those online citizen service efficiencies. And another example of recent developments in this area includes in the USA, where they've been building on their cloud adoption to recently announce their digital government initiative. So that's them bringing a huge focus to exactly this area in terms of putting more online services accessible to citizens. So moving on, and I'm just getting ready to pass across. So this next slide highlights that with all these new technologies, obviously the key process that the public sector will go through to harness them is a process of business transformation. So that in its simplest form involves identifying a future state. Where are you hoping to get to? What are you trying to achieve? And aiming to get there from your current state. Where are you currently at? What technologies do you currently have? Your legacy systems. And this process of transformation to move from existing legacy systems to a new cloud world is really going to be the huge focus area for organizations looking to harness and adopt the cloud. So just to summarize my introduction, just to conclude, it will be an ongoing monthly webinar that you can tap into to see an ongoing series of presentations. And if you'd like to know more specifically about the Digital Government Initiative, then you can check out our new website there. So on that note, I'm now going to pass across to our first presenter, John Borras. So just bear with me while we make the handover.
Thank you, Neil.
John, we should be seeing your screen now, and we can hear you and see you okay. So you are ready to go, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much, Neil, and good morning, everybody, or if you're on my side of the pond, good afternoon. Thanks, Neil. Whilst you've talked clearly there about cloud and social networking and all of these new tools available, there's much more to transformation and business transformation that you talked about than just that. Those things are not going to be the magic bullet that is going to change the whole way that government delivers online services to the citizen. And our transformational government framework sets out the whole plethora of things that need to be looked at and considered. And obviously the use of cloud and social networking is one small piece of that, but there are many, many things that need to be addressed before you get to that stage. So I'm briefly going to try and give you that high-level perspective of the framework, and hopefully going forward with Neil's work, you can bear that in mind and position your cloud and social networking services. For those who don't know OSIS briefly, it's one of the international standards organizations, concentrating very much on e-business systems. A lot of what goes on in the internet is based on internet standards. It's a global organization with a whole range of organizations involved. I've been associated with it for over 10 years now and chair several of their committees. So what do we mean by transformational government? Well, this is the phrase that we have come up with to define our work, and the key to this is the words in the middle of this sentence, where it says, which puts the needs of citizens and businesses at the heart of the process, and that is the fundamental aspect to this whole change and what led us to come to this new technical work, to produce this new framework? Well, many of us have been around this whole e-government area since day one. I was part of the initial UK government team that built the first e-government scheme, and we were one of the world leaders on that, and many other governments followed our experience. And broadly, over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of experience learnt in trying to deliver e-government solutions, many not very successful, and we've tried to build on that experience. It is very much this need to take a citizen-focused and business-driven approach. We do know that this new approach leads to significant levels of take-up, and that's been one of the weaknesses of the earlier attempts at e-government, but this new approach does increase the take-up levels. We have examples that it's shown to work at many different types of levels, not just national levels, but state and city, and it's deployed in several parts of the world already. And through OASIS, we're standardizing it so that in future, we're looking for the partners, particularly the large consultancy houses and suppliers of services to government. They can embed it in their support tools and in their skills of their staff as well. So if we sort of just go back over the history of e-government, there has been a considerable lack of success. It's not been all failure. The major hurdle when we started in the UK, we invested a lot of money, and after 2 years, we were getting very flat line take-up.
Hi, John. I think we're starting to lose you.
Sorry, can you still hear me? Am I still there?
Yes, no, we've got you back. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, obviously the broadband. Obviously, a lot of duplicated IT is expensive along the way, wasted resources, and from a political point of view and politician point of view, key a lot of those on the government side, there was little impact for policy objectives. We really weren't delivering policy.
John, we're starting to have problems hearing you again, my friend.
Sorry, it's obviously my broadband link is flowing in and out. Can you hear me okay now?
Oh, you're crystal clear now.
Okay, fine. All right, let's fingers crossed. If we go back over the history of government IT, it goes back 30, 40 years, and some of us, including myself, have been involved in it almost from day one. In the early days, it was all about mainframes and back office automation, and in those days, there was a business case that we made, and return on investment could be achieved. But then we got into the e-government world, and we started to lose that business benefit. And hence we've moved on now into this transformational government area where we believe we can realize the benefits. And just to point out, importantly, we tend to talk about transformational government rather than eGov2. We think the term eGov2, which is being used around, has a taint of the fact that this is just an enhancement of eGov1, and in fact it's something very, very different in our minds. And if you look along the bottom line of this diagram, you can see obviously we're now into the cloud and social networking and all that comes into this agenda that has to be part of the overall picture. A quick comparison of the differences, and if you look on these two tables here, essentially, when you were doing e-government, it was all about push, whereas transformational government is all about pull. So you can do the comparison, see the quite significant change of emphasis and approach. And to summarize, e-government. So it was saying, okay, we do what we do, and here's some new technology that will help us do it better. That didn't work. Transformational government is about saying we need to change the business first. We need to transform the business. And only once we've done that, so it is a very another major difference in this now. It starts to bring in the whole concept of frontline services. E-government has broadly been about enabling back-end transaction services. But if you look at the citizen experience, you need to start thinking about frontline.
Hi, John. Sorry, we're really starting to lose you now. I think you may be
Sorry,
having trouble.
Are we back in again?
Yes, you are. Oh, you are.
Okay.
Maybe it needs a two-way traffic. I'll shout at you every couple of minutes just to keep it
You
live
do that.
for you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. So we need to join up and think about the frontline services such as education and healthcare and how the way those guys deliver those services join up with the back end stuff as well. Within the TGF, there's 4 actual components: a set of guiding principles, a whole set of delivery processes around the 4 important aspects: business management, customer management, channel management, and technology management. And for each of those dimensions, specific things are articulated. There's a range of critical success factors, and importantly, there's a benefits realization strategy, which is a key component. Here's a picture of it. I don't expect anybody to read and digest all that now, but it does illustrate the plethora of things that need to be addressed. And for each of the boxes on this diagram, in our TGF primer, you will find a description of all the various components and what needs to be done for each of those boxes. We have what we call the TGF core pattern language, and this is the formal specification of it. And essentially takes out the key bits from the primer and puts them into a formalized specification which contain the conformance requirements. And it is that specification that is the key document going forward. One important part of the boxes on that little diagram is what we call the policy product matrix. And this attempts to articulate all the various parts of policy that need to be addressed in all the dimensions. And if you look at the second book there, it goes through the life cycle of public sector planning. So you start with a vision, then you move from policy to strategy to plans to operation. And for each of those dimensions, there are a whole range of documents, statements, policies, whatever you want to call them, that need to be considered. And with any conformant program, it needs to use the matrix to identify which are appropriate. There are many interoperability frameworks around the world. The most complete one, we believe, is the European framework, and this recognizes interoperability at 5 layers: political, legal,
We're losing a wee bit again, John, so I'll just dip in again.
Okay, legal, organizational, semantic, and technology. And within our matrix, we've mapped those levels against the delivery process, and within each cell you will find listed, and this is just an illustrative example of some of the types of things, you will find a list of all the various products that need to be considered and put in place. So have you got a benefit realization strategy? Have you got a risk management strategy? Do you know about privacy and data legislation? Have you got a channel management framework? Have you got a physical data model and an framework, etc., etc.? So the policy product matrix does illustrate all of those, provides examples of them, and it's almost a checklist of all the things you need to think about before you start down the delivery track. Where are we going with all this? Well, we are going to both finish off the OASIS approval process and then submit it to ISO to get that accreditation. That's our long-term aim with this. There's a lot of maintenance enhancements that need to go on over the coming years. We're in the process of producing multilingual versions of this. We've already done Japanese, Spanish, and Norwegian, and we've got French and Dutch in the pipeline. There's a lot of further deliverables that are coming along the line, and they're listed on our website. One of the important things to point out is we're now into the realms of doing profiles of different business sectors, and in particular we're doing something now for the emergency management community globally, and also here in the UK for what is known as smart cities, which again we would want to roll out as a global perspective as well. We're obviously looking for outreach and adoption of all of this, and looking to recruit UPC members. So if anybody is interested in joining in this game, in this piece of work, then please get in touch. So just to summarize it all, it focuses in 4 major ways than traditionally government focuses. It's about taking a whole of government.
Oh, just losing you again. Lastly there, John.
And reflecting what the citizen wants rather than what the public sector wants. It needs to include and enable frontline services. It needs to take the whole of government view about the way of managing the cost base of government, and that whole new approach to funding models is something that is a real challenge for government, and it needs to focus on citizens as a customer and not as a recipient of what the government deliver. So it is a fundamental change, and within all of that, as I say, delivery, use of cloud and social networking, etc., is obviously one of the components that comes into play. You need to understand all the bits that go before you get to that particular stage. Number of sources of information there. Our main website. We have a TC Wiki where the policy product matrix is available. We have a group on LinkedIn if you want to follow us anymore. And if you want to get any further questions or information, then please get in touch with me. And Neil, hopefully that sort of sets some sort of higher level strategic view for you.
Perfect. That was fantastic. Thank you very much, John. What I took from that was that it's a hugely important process that you're talking about there, because I mean, as we all know, the challenge with cloud computing is it can be overly technical at times, and it can be perceived as being, flavor of the month and something just to be adopted for the sake of adoption. So I think what you're talking about there is, providing a top-down strategic framework so that before you dive off into these different areas, you're actually setting a strategy for what you're trying to achieve, and you're putting that in terms of e-government and benefits for citizens. And using your framework would allow public sector organizations to drive their adoption of cloud and also other technologies, towards overall strategic goals, so that it has that context.
Very much so. I would take it back to the early days of e-government, where the internet was the in thing then, not the cloud. It was the internet, and so there was a charge to put everything on the internet. But it was very much about putting what the government does at the moment on the internet. And as I said, that didn't work and didn't achieve the benefits. And if you're not careful, the same pitfall will occur now. Everyone will charge the cloud and the social networking and still not get the benefits if they don't get their business transformation right first.
Awesome. Awesome. Great presentation. Thank you very much, John. And thank you for your time this morning. I do appreciate that.
Okay.
So moving on to our next presenter, we now have Eric Lews, a business analyst from AppDirect. And as I mentioned in my introductory presentation, one of the most exciting developments happening in the UK and their adoption of cloud computing is the use of an app store. So they're increasing the efficiency of procurement by government agencies, by providing an app store that the agencies can go to and select the products. But what's really critical to that is that makes it also easier for local small businesses to become part of that supply chain and sell to government. So it's a hugely important area for transformation with a broader focus on economic development and innovation in general. So moving on to look at AppDirect, they provide a platform for exactly that type of scenario. So Eric's going to talk us through what they offer and what's involved. So over to you, Eric.
Thanks, Neil. So as Neil mentioned, what we'll be talking about today are app stores, cloud app stores, and the space has been called a cloud services brokerage space. So today I'm going to talk through, sort of define what that space is, what the cloud service brokerage, and then go through 2 examples of how governments can work with cloud services brokerages or become cloud services brokerages themselves to increase innovation and adoption within the cloud space, both in the private and public sector. So let me start with a definition of what a cloud services brokerage is. Essentially, a CSB stands between SaaS developers and the businesses that consume those apps. And in their role as an intermediary, they provide a variety of different services depending on the brokerage. So what AppDirect does is that we provide a single marketplace where SaaS developers can list all of their applications in a single place, and then where businesses can, in that same single marketplace, where businesses can go to find, trial, compare, and then purchase and manage those applications. And in addition to that marketplace, we provide several management tools which help businesses run the administration of using multiple apps. So those are 2 examples of things that cloud services brokerages do. But cloud CSBs can also do things like customization and integration services that extend the capability of specific applications and help businesses use those. So the CSB space was actually defined back in 2009 by Gartner, and it's continued to grow sort of in relevance and popularity since then. And Gartner continues to believe that cloud services brokerages will continue to play a really critical role in the evolution of cloud computing going forward, both in the public and private spaces. And we think, let me walk through sort of the specific problems that CSBs address and why they can play such an important role in both innovation and adoption of cloud in the private space. And then we'll go ahead and talk about how in the public space, CSBs can also help drive cloud adoption and innovation. So if you look at the left-hand side of this slide, what you'll see is the traditional delivery model that private SaaS developers use to access customers today. And this model is full of problems. On the developer side, in order to find and deliver their solutions to consumers or consuming businesses, developers need to either have an amazing brand strength, which requires an enormous marketing cost and just effort and time, or they need to have just a killer sales team that can go reach out to individual small, medium businesses and sell their products to each of those businesses individually. Or they need to have both. And the bottom line is that for many developers who are great at creating applications and who are great at creating powerful, useful tools, being awesome marketers and awesome salespeople is just outside of their core competency. So in the current model of delivering SaaS tools, there are a lot of challenges for developers. For the businesses that consume those apps, there are all sorts of problems as well. So it's important to keep in mind that unlike a consumer who's using personal apps, for a business, implementing new software is full of risk. Oftentimes, critical data or critical business processes would put into these software, and the risk of failure is more than an inconvenience. It could have dramatic implications for the business or actually bring critical processes down for the business. So what that means is that businesses have to invest an enormous amount of time in evaluating different software and making sure that not only do they meet the basic feature requirements, but they also have a level of security and privacy as well as availability and uptime that meet all of their requirements. So that evaluation process is really time-consuming, at the moment, there's no single place where you can go to find apps that would be relevant for your business. So if you look on the right-hand side of this slide, you'll see the AppDirect business model. And like all CSPs, AppDirect plays between SaaS developers and the businesses that consume those apps. And there are advantages for both the developers and the businesses for having a brokerage in between those two players. For developers, what AppDirect allows is the developer to integrate to one place and then have its applications distributed to millions of different SMBs on the AppDirect network. And then for small, medium businesses, the advantage is these businesses can now go to a single place to find applications, compare them to other applications, activate free trials, and then once they've purchased those applications, AppDirect provides several different management tools like single sign-on, centralized user access management, and consolidated billing. And all those things just help facilitate with the administration of multiple SaaS applications once a business starts to use them. So there's some additional nuance to the way AppDirect works. And if you look at the 5 brands at the bottom of this slide, SaaStel, Accelerator, Bell Canada, Deutsche Telekom, and Rackspace, these are all existing service providers to small, medium businesses. So SaaStel, Bell, and Deutsche Telekom are internet service providers. And then Accelerator is a platform as a service player, and Rackspace is an infrastructure as a service player. But the key point here is that each of these service providers has existing relationships with small and medium businesses, and they have very strong brand strength. So they're recognized, trusted brands. So what AppDirect's marketplace as a service technology allows is for each of these existing service providers to become cloud services brokerages. So we provide each of these service providers with a marketplace and then management tools. And all of this is white labeled, so it matches the branding of each of these service providers. But those tools allow each of those service providers to distribute third-party SaaS, so SaaS created by other developers, as well as their own proprietary SaaS tools to their existing business customers. So at AppDirect, we're really excited about this business model, and we think that there's a lot that it can do to drive both innovation and adoption within the private sector. And we think that the government within a country can also provide support and collaborate with a cloud services brokerage to drive innovation in the private sector as well. And that private cloud services brokerages in combination with the government can have can be very powerful drivers towards innovation and adoption. And this slide, we have an example of Deutsche Telekom and how they've worked with the German government to really encourage trust and highlight the security and privacy of Deutsche Telekom's business cloud marketplace. So the Telecom Cloud Business Marketplace actually just launched this month, last month in July, and we're really excited to see that go live. So it's still in the early phases of its launch, but when it was announced in CeBIT, Angela Merkel and Renee Oberman, who's the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, actually announced it together at CeBIT, which is a large IT conference in Europe. And one of the things, or the key message that both of them communicated was the fact that all of the apps on this marketplace are hosted in Germany, and they actually call it the German cloud, and that all of the applications comply with all German and EU data protection regulations. One of the things that we consistently see, one of the barriers that we consistently see for businesses to adopt cloud applications is questions about security and reliability of cloud services. And that's even more of an issue for businesses that are outside the U.S. Because many cloud companies are based in the U.S. And the U.S. Patriot Law actually gives the U.S. government potentially access to any data that's stored on U.S.-based servers. So the German government and Deutsche Telekom did a great job of identifying that all of the information on, or all of the data, applications, and the marketplace of the telecom cloud all those things are hosted in Germany. And because they comply with German and EU data laws, that just dramatically increases the security and privacy of that data. So by working, again, so just working together with the government and then with Deutsche Telekom's marketing materials, the business marketplace is able to really emphasize security and trust. And in that way, the government and CSPs can work together to increase adoption and innovation in the private sector. So that's one way that governments can work with CSPs. Another thing that governments can do to drive innovation and adoption of SaaS in the public sector is actually to become a cloud services brokerage itself. So this is similar to the apps.gov site that Neil mentioned at the introduction. And if you, in the previous slide, we discussed how in private business, there are all sorts of problems with developers creating apps for small and medium businesses. And those challenges are only magnified in the public space if a developer is trying to create an application for government departments. And the reason why is that each department is going to have its own requirements and standards, and then it's going to have its own procurement process, which can be very time-consuming and difficult to go through. So for a developer who's trying to make an application for multiple departments, there's just an enormous barrier to entry that makes it really intimidating to create apps for the government. But if you look on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see how a government app store can really reduce those barriers. And we think there's two specific features that app store has to have. First, it has to have a well-documented set of accreditations and standards that help guide developers through which standards should it optimize around to reach the departments that it cares about. So that just very clearly laid out documentation is super important. And then the second thing that app store has to have is a centralized procurement process. So that ensures that a developer can run through that process once and then ensure that its app is listed in that app store, and that all government departments for which that app meets the department standards can see that app all in a single place. And then, obviously, on top of the infrastructure of the App Store, the government needs to be very active in outreach and guidance to promote the App Store and make sure that the departments know that it exists, and then make sure that developers can find the documentation and all the different standards they need to comply with. As Neil mentioned, there are already existing examples of government government app stores. Both the U.S. and UK governments have them. Just on the cursory browse I've had time to go through for these different app stores, they're fairly rudimentary compared to what you see in the private sector, but they're definitely a good start. And as they continue to build out features, they'll only make it easier and easier for developers to create apps for the government and for the government to consume those apps. Okay, so that's it. Neil, back to you, or any questions?
Okay, Eric, my friend, thank you very much. That was a fantastic presentation. Really exciting topic. There was a couple of points I really picked up on there. In your last slide, you were making the point that with a government-targeted app store, you're providing that slide right there. You're providing the capability to implement well-documented accreditation and standards and centralized procurement. Now that's such a hot topic right now, as John was previously on there from a standards organization. It's early days, and those areas are where the public sector has the greatest potential to really drive an adoption of best practices and really streamline efficiencies in areas like procurement. As we know, it's one of the areas within the public sector that faces huge challenges in terms of not necessarily being as efficient as it might be in terms of the procurement process and simply buying IT and having it efficiently implemented. So, the model you're offering there seems to strike me as offering, massive potential for the public sector. And in particular, you also touched on the fact that this could act as a developer ecosystem. So not only would it be more efficient, but you're also building a marketplace where local businesses, local startups can get their business off the ground by providing value to the government, creating new applications that would be delivered through this App Store.
Right.
So that was a fantastic presentation. Thank you very much, Eric. So we're now moving on to our third and final presentation this morning. We have Efrem Habteselassie from ACES, who is one of our shining lights here in Canada as a cloud entrepreneur, who has recently launched what we call ESAS, Enterprise Search as a Service. Now this is taking very sophisticated search software, moving it into a cloud model, and via the Cloud Search portal, making it more accessible to more organizations. So if you're ready, Efrem, we can see your presentation and you're ready to go, my friend.
Well, thank you very much, Neil. Yeah, so this is going to be a presentation essentially in line with what we have been we've been discussing. This could be an example of an application that can be hosted on the cloud, and how cloud-based search can improve online citizen service. So we're going to be focusing specifically on search as a service and how to serve the citizens better. Just by way of introduction, ACES Consulting, we are a Toronto-based company, as Neil mentioned, and we've been in business since '92, and we're primarily focused on search and knowledge discovery solutions. We're a vendor of record at the Ontario government and also at the federal level at PWGSC. We have implemented several large-scale projects, including, so I've listed here some examples at McGraw-Hill in the U.S., New York Times, Canada Post, Canvas Digital Media, Boston.com, and also Ontario government, public-facing and intranet search. What we see in all of these instances are issues and topics that are raised with regards to how do you make search effective and efficient so that citizens can access the information that they're looking for very quickly. And one specific example that's very apropos for this event for today is what we've developed, a multi-tenanted service. This was in response to a request from Ontario government a few years ago, where they had a need to basically provide a search service portal to all the citizens from all of the public-facing websites, website 1, website 2, if you start in the bottom, and other data sources. So in this case, we have over 200 different websites were all being indexed and normalized into one search index that is made available through an ACES-developed multi-tenanted search manager, so that the different ministries of the OPS can provide search results that are suitable to their own customers. So, for example, if you were to go to Service Ontario and you're entering search, you're using the same search index. If you're going to Ministry of Environment, you're going to the same search index, but in this case, you're accessing it through a differentiated user interface, and you could do that for all of the multiple departments that they have. Now, what we've done, this was developed in response to a specific requirement. It has been in production for many years, but what we've been seeing is that there are a number of drivers to go into the cloud environment where this similar service can be enhanced, augmented, and become of use to multiple government departments as well. And the reasons for those are, as you very well can appreciate, the cloud technology is becoming more mature and more cost effective, and enterprises are at the same time under pressure to cut costs in their various operations. And from the bottom, search is becoming the primary method for content access, the reason being more and more content is available at various websites. Instead of hundreds or 200 or thousands of documents on a website, it's common now to see in the hundreds of thousands of pages, and so users have to be able to find very quick way of accessing specific content that they're looking for. And also what we've been seeing is that poorly managed search is causing customer dissatisfaction, and so we thought that moving this solution and optimizing it on the cloud could be quite advantageous to many government departments. As you probably are well aware, the typical challenges that we have seen from a search service manager who is trying to offer search services to multiple departments. Is that first of all, they have immense volumes of content and gigabytes of information assets. These have been scattered throughout the years in multiple, what we refer to as information silos, and this needs to be gathered and presented to the end user, and also they must provide, the search service manager must provide contextually relevant search to thousands of users. Although these users are coming in anonymously, they enter a keyword to search for information. The search itself has to be smart enough to try and glean some context so that results can be provided that are more appropriate to that end user. And also they must provide service to multiple departments with varying search function needs. As I mentioned earlier, for example, Service Ontario requires a map-based search results, for example, and Environment, Ministry of Environment might require a different interface. Or if you're in a municipality environment, the same thing can apply for the different departments of municipality, and the same thing can be said about the federal government, for example. And also there's a need to be able to process legacy content that's poorly structured and not a lot of metadata. All of this content you can't go back and retroactively fix, so you need a search engine that's smart enough to not rely just on the metadata, but actually go into the content itself and extract and glean the meaning of what that document is about, so that it can be presented to the right person at the right time. And also what we're hearing is that, the search service manager is in the business of providing search service to the citizens. They're not particularly interested in spending time and resources managing IT infrastructure or search software revisions as they come every year. And so they do hear a lot of comments that says search sucks, is a usual complaint, and the reason for that is that the content is changing all the time. Applications are changing all the time, and it requires constant tuning by search experts. And the business metrics for a service manager could be customer satisfaction is number one from a citizen perspective. Am I finding the information that I'm looking for? And also offloading of high-cost phone support line to online service providers is also another important consideration, in that if users are not finding information that they are looking for online, then by that time they're frustrated, and they pick up the phone and start making phone calls to the more expensive support line. And also reduction in capex and flexibility on budgeting is another very important challenge that a service manager faces. And the reason for this is that as content continues to grow, they need to plan for 2 or 3 or 4 years in advance. And typically, when you're budgeting for that kind of time horizon, then the service manager is faced with a decision to try and build capacity that's way ahead of what they need today. And so there's a lot of resources that are not used up or effectively utilized, and so that becomes a challenge as well. So to summarize, the search service manager is faced with the challenge of managing exponentially growing volumes of content to increasing number of citizens, but they must do it at lower costs. And so we came up with Cloud Search Portal, which is based, as I said, on a production environment technology that we've been managing for many years. We moved that to the cloud, and our vision there is that a total solution enterprise search management platform that is deployed on outsourced world-class service infrastructure. So in this case, we are partnering with a number of hosted service providers. For example, Bell Canada is a partner that provide this kind of services. And we are building the solution using world-leading Microsoft Enterprise Search Platform. So there is reliability on the capability of the search technology itself. And this solution is will meet defined service level agreements as well. So that if your requirement is 5 nines, 99.999, that's a service level agreement that we would stand up and meet. and it's monitored and optimized by ACES search professionals on a regular basis, so that as things change, the tuning requirements become become part of the process itself, so that the best search results are continuously delivered as your content and the needs of your users change. And in some cases, if there is a need to customize unique requirements for each customer, then the part of this service, the ESAS model, is enterprise search as a service, and that service includes customizing as well. So this allows the service manager from the ministries, from the department, an easy-to-use management dashboard so that they can tune and configure the search service, which allows them to are now focusing on what content is being requested by citizens, what results am I providing to them, and is this meeting the requirements, or is this satisfying my customers, is the focus of the service manager, instead of having to worry about all of the other things which are now taken care of by the ESAS environment. And the cloud search portal is able to meet these because it has the following capabilities. First of all, it's scalable solution that you can dynamically grow based on demand, on actual demand today. So you can say, I just need one server today or two servers based on exactly what I need today. And tomorrow, if my need increases, based on that increase, I can say, okay, I need to go and dynamically change that. It's a high performance, high scalability with sub-second response time guaranteed for almost all searches that are submitted. And it's configurable so that the search UI and look and feel can be easily adjusted by the manager by remotely accessing the service. And at the same time, also it has advanced search tuning functions that are already pre-packaged based on the search best practices experience that we have. We've made those easily accessible to end users as well. And search technology professionals, as we had said before, are available in monitoring your search, so that and we're always providing search best practice based recommendations that says your content is changing this way, you're using more video now, and here's the way to present video to your users. You can use best bets, you can use advertising or content spotlighting, and here's how we can do it to improve efficiency as well. So this way, it helps customers improve customer satisfaction through provision of highly relevant search results. If those search results are relevant, then it offloads from the high-cost phone support. That's a material reduction in expenses. And also the reduction in CapEx and flexibility in budgeting also allows you to save money in the short and long term as well. So this solution is designed to help you address the needs of the end user. Part of what we do, just to give you just a little bit of a deeper dive on the way cloud search portal is structured, we provide standardized staging and production clusters that are identical to each other. So you could be always doing staging, development, and testing, and when that's ready, it's moved to the production environment, and on a continuous basis, this information is this platform is made available to you. And from the top, the ACES administrators are always monitoring the system, and the website administrators that's depicted here on the top is the search service managers in each department, basically reviewing reports on how search is functioning, what results are being presented, and rank tuning on a regular basis using remote or web-based and easy to understand interfaces. So one of the benefits of a cloud environment is that because we do not assume any longer that the administrators are directly interfacing with the servers on a command line basis and have not spent days learning how to manage the system, we've made it very simple, very straightforward to manage. So for example, just to show you a few screenshots, administrators can log in to the system through a secure interface, and at that point they're able to see and configure the number of departments that will be using the search service, and also configuring the users who will be accessing to those departments, and they can specify which user has access to which service, and they will be able to manage. At that point, the department webmaster, for example, or the service manager for each department, they can sign in and take a look at what content collections they have created, and for each collection, what content has been crawled, how many has been crawled. So, for example, this test collection that has been created for Ontario government, for example, has 4,275 documents that have been indexed on this date, and the last update date is this, and you can change the status and you can control it. At the same time, if you created a new collection, it's easy to configure the crawler so that you can tell it what websites it's going to crawl, how it's going to get those, and how frequently it's going to go retrieve the content, and the refresh interval, for example, on how often it's going to refresh. So essentially it's a simplified configuration with pre-selected defaults, but in the back end it has additional advanced capabilities that you can go in and tune if need be, so that all of the capabilities of an advanced enterprise search platform are still available for you to use and tune on a per department basis. In addition to that, one of the capabilities that we have added and we made it easy to manage is that for your website, each department, they know what keywords are being used by their users to access content. And for example, if the keyword, this is just an example, but if the keyword business was being used by users all the time, then the service manager is able to click the same keyword and look at what results are being presented to the users. And if they are not happy with what the results are coming back, or if they want to spotlight specific content to be returned in response to this keyword, they are able to create best bets, visual best bets, or site links, or even boosts and blocks, so that they can boost specific documents that you would like to push as part of the search results every time that keyword is entered. So in this case, for example, we've created 6 boosts and blocks of a document that will show that can be shown when the keyword business is entered in English. Here are the documents that you would like to have returned as a response. And so this is easily configurable and accessible to every department manager, which makes it imminently tunable, and you can react to users as need be. And promotion can also be based on user context. So for the keyword business, if it's being entered, for example, from a residential or enterprise, or if it's based on location from various locations, you can specify what results should be returned towards the top based on the user context. So a lot of advanced capabilities of the search engine becoming very easy for you to manage and configure, including the UI. You can say, I need a basic, or with navigators or navigators and best bets to be deployed very quickly, and this could be changed as you see results and starting to get feedback from your users. So this kind of solution is deployed on the cloud. It's available today for users to experiment, to give it a try, or to launch a service. If any one of you is interested, you can contact us to arrange for a more detailed presentation so that we can tailor it to your specific requirements, and conduct a quick proof of concept pilot so that you can validate your requirements, and then especially to establish and articulate concrete business value proposition of the solution, and to develop a deployment plan, and then you can roll out the service. So I just wanted to give you a high-level flavor of an example of a cloud-based application that would make it easy. If you're thinking about the cloud, it would make search is an easy way to give it a try. We deploy it on the cloud. Your content is already public-facing. In terms of security, there's less concerns about it, and the business transformation though can be tested and validated, and a highly efficient service can be deployed as well. So in interest of time, I want to stop here and pass it back to Neil But if you do have any questions, we'd be very happy to elaborate a lot more detail. Thank you.
Efrem, thank you very much. That was a fantastic presentation again. And that's us concluding our session today, so I'll just leave you with the links up there. And just to really touch on Efrem's presentation there and the key points you made, Efrem, the key takeaway I took there was, there was some very immediate and very practical benefits. You talked about how organizations that don't use an effective search tool can find costs, increasing significantly, because if, as we all know, if you go to a website and can't find something quickly and easily, your first course of action is to, either phone them or even more, go down to the office and visit with them. And there's been recent statistics published that showed that the cost to an organization of that escalating customer interaction resource requirement, expands significantly, goes up by a factor of almost 20-fold. So, if you're not using these tools, you're driving costs up in your organization significantly. So, your service has an immediate cost-saving practical benefit, and in today's modern age, in terms of what people expect from an online website, it's a fundamental necessity. And critically, you're using cloud technologies to make that capability available on a shared service basis. So organizations don't have to go and buy all the software themselves and install it all themselves. It's very easily accessible via a government cloud type scenario that Eric just talked about in his previous demonstration. So to conclude, I think that was an excellent set of presentations which gave a very brief introduction into Government Cloud Computing 2.0. And we talked about the top-level standards and frameworks that can facilitate strategic planning for how you go about adopting these technologies. We talked about how a platform like AppDirect can provide you the overall framework to facilitate that strategy. And then Efrem gave us an awesome insight into an example of one cloud application you might use with a very clear business benefit of doing so. So on an ongoing basis and on a monthly basis, we'll be repeating this exercise. We'll be giving you demonstrations of other providers and technologies, expanding out on these topics in more detail. And so we look forward and hope to see you on those following sessions. And I thank you all for your time this morning. If you have any questions on these topics in general, you can either forward them to me, I will pass them on to presenters, or you can reach out to the presenters directly. I'll also publish the slides and this presentation online, so if you'd like to share it with your friends or didn't have a chance to catch it all yourself, it will be publicly available, so I'll send out a notification to that effect. So I thank the presenters for your inputs this morning and your time, and for attendees for attending, and good morning and have a great day. Bye for now.